Hello and welcome to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe in the studios of our flagship stations, 89.3 Lakes FM and Civic Center TV. In addition today, as always, we're on Birmingham Area Municipal Access in Birmingham, Bingham Farms, Beverly Hills, and the village of Franklin. Both of our TV stations, Civic Center TV and Bama, are on Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99. In addition today on the radio in Bloomfield Hills, 88.1 WBFH, the BIF, a service of the Bloomfield Hills School District. And we're online, civiccentertv.com. Click on our Watch Live link or watch on the small player on our homepage and on our Facebook pages today, facebook.com/civiccentertv15 and facebook.com/lakesfm. And as always, joining me from her home studio is Ronnie Dahl.
Tyler, happy Friday Eve.
Happy Friday Eve indeed. Yes, Ronnie, it's been a fun week so far. A lot of interesting things going on over here and a lot of interesting people to talk to, but we're that close. It's been a week that's kind of just flown by. It's been nice.
I think the opposite. And I think the snow has thrown so many of us off.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. I don't know. Maybe it's the fact that I've only had to be here for 2 nights this week for meetings, and last night was a really quick one due to no quorum. Maybe that's what makes this feel so quick to me, as opposed to normal weeks where I'm here several nights beyond this. But I don't know. Maybe it's now that the sun's back out and the snow's not dragging us all down anymore for now. Now that I've said that, it could easily just come right back. But you know, it's felt like a quicker than usual week. Maybe not lightning quick where did the time go, but you know, it's quicker than normal.
Well, just like we, the one thing that happens this time of year when we get these snowfalls, it's melted already.
Right.
It's gone. So we can get back to thinking about spring. Did they say like next week? I think it's going to be like up in the upper 60s, 70s.
I didn't catch next week much of the future forecast. I did see that it's going to be 60 degrees, I think, tomorrow or on Saturday, and then it's going to gradually be up there in like the 50s or the late 40s at the worst. So you know, it's creeping back up there. That being said, I wouldn't be surprised if that is the case, that it's going to be seasonably or unseasonably warm in the very near future. That's about the most Michigan thing possible for our weather to be doing.
I saw a post on Facebook, and they were like, basically you need this time of the year in Michigan, in 1 week, your suntan lotion, your tank tops, your flip flops, your winter coat, your snow boots, and your ice scraper.
Yeah, you got to have it all. I mean, if you're
covered
not,
in
right.
a week in Michigan right now.
Right, you need to be ready for all four seasons. Actually, I have a similar story to that. On Monday after work here, Monday after work here, I went and got my hair cut, and the person that cut my hair even said when he moved to Michigan about 20 years ago, he had said, was the timing on that, he asked a friend of his who already lived here for advice on what he needs to know about living in Michigan, and she told him, be ready to experience all 4 seasons in a single day. He, of course, being someone that's never experienced Michigan weather, thought she was nuts and quickly realized she is very correct. We experience that quite regularly here.
I will say this time of the year for me is some of the most depressing, because you see pictures from so many of your friends that are in other parts of the country, and the flowers are blooming, everything is pretty, and it's, those nice mild temperatures, especially for the people that are in the South.
Oh, yeah.
Because it can get so hot in the summertime. It's like perfect weather. And for us, we're still going through what we go through. And you're like, why do we live here again?
And I question that often. I have a friend that lives down south now, and she just recently, I just saw her Instagram posts, a friend of mine from high school, she just recently visited Zion National Park, of course, and that's a beautiful landscape. It's nice and warm, or at least tolerable out that way in the country, and then we're sitting here in snow and variable weather where it's hot one day and it's winter again the next day, or it's somewhere in between the day after that. So yeah, I think a lot of people in Michigan often question, why am I living here with all of this going on? But then you have situations where then you have the scenarios where it's nice and sunny and the flowers are blooming, and it's spring in Michigan or fall in Michigan where it's just absolutely beautiful outside, and you realize that is why we go through all this other stuff so we can enjoy all of that.
Well, let's hope that all the flowers that had started to bloom do not die off because of the cold snap.
Yeah, you got to cover those. Got to cover those up. It's not. We're not out of the woods yet on this winter thing.
I think it's really going to do a lot of damage to so many of the crops here in the state of Michigan, these little cold snaps that we get.
Oh yeah, it definitely will. People need to make sure that they're cautious with their plants, of course, if you've put them outside, or if you've planned to put them outside before, we're in a period where there's consistent warmth or consistent seasonable weather. That's probably not the best idea. Try to get those inside or figure out a way to protect them from the elements in the case that we do have a snowy day or unseasonably cold day or frost in the forecast that could potentially damage or kill those plants.
Well, here's a little bit of good news going on here in the state of Michigan. And when I say little, I mean little. But we can use whatever we can get. Michigan's COVID-19 case rate appears to have peaked as the surge starts to slow. So Michigan's coronavirus case rate has begun to fall, dropping 12.5% over the last week, suggesting the state's third surge, the worst in the United States, may be waning. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reported Wednesday that the 7-day average of new cases in Michigan fell from 551.8 per 100,000 people to 483 per 100,000 people as of yesterday. Hospitalizations of patients with confirmed cases of COVID-19 statewide fell below 4,000 on Wednesday for the first time in 9 days. Remember, though, we are not out of the woods just yet. Health officials say the B117 strain is most dominant here in the state of Michigan, and it is at least 50 to 75% more contagious than those previous strains. And it does have the propensity to spread faster and cause larger outbreaks, especially among unvaccinated persons and infected elementary school children. And that's in contrast to some of the previous circulating strains. So good news, and we're looking for good news any way we can get it.
That's for
but
sure.
Just know that it is still out there and it's still spreading. It's really this variant that is causing so many problems here in the state of Michigan, Tyler.
Yeah, you think about that increase, 50 to 75% more contagious. That means if you think about COVID-19 and how contagious the novel coronavirus we've seen up until this point was, think about that nearly doubled, 150% or 175% contagion rate as compared to this current variant that we have that is at that increased rate. So we got to be even more careful with that. It's good news that we're seeing this surge start to trend a little bit down. It's not really trending down just yet because it's been such a minor change and it hasn't been exactly consistent just yet. But we'll take it as it is currently, and that's some good news at the very least, as we've had a major surge here in the state of Michigan. Our hospital systems have been quite concerned and been taking extra precautions because of that. And the quicker we get out of this surge and continue our vaccination efforts here in the state of Michigan, and hopefully that continues to have success and doesn't have many more hiccups along the way, the quicker we're getting out of this pandemic and can start to figure out what life after COVID-19 looks like here in Michigan and throughout the country and the world.
I will say at this point in time, I'm wondering, is there ever going to be life after COVID?
Aren't we all?
Remember way back in the beginning for 2 weeks.
Yeah, that was a very lofty goal. That did never seem really too realistic.
One thing though, as Michigan COVID vaccine rates start to ebb, pop-up clinics and a casino and cash appear. So from hospital emergency rooms to dollar stores, high schools, doctors' offices, even the casinos, public health authorities are getting creative and trying to get COVID-19 vaccines into more Michigan arms as vaccination efforts enter a critical stage. So after months in which a frenzy for vaccines far exceeded the state's limited supplies, we saw the lines. We know the efforts people were going through to try to get an appointment to get their vaccination, while officials now are seeing a softening in demand with weekly vaccination numbers in parts of the state beginning to slacken. And so begins the hard work of reaching residents who have yet been reluctant or indifferent to getting the shot. So that may mean that mass vaccination clinics and drive-thrus will soon fade, giving way to pop-up clinics at neighborhood centers, high schools, churches, mosques, or being offered a vaccine at a doctor's office during a routine visit. We know a lot of people would prefer that as well. So roughly 1 in 5 Michigan residents are considered vaccine hesitant based on federal data that relied on vaccine surveys, and then applied the results to state and county level demographics. Michigan now ranks as the 18th most hesitant state, with 19% considered reluctant to get the vaccine. That's according to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. We know that President Biden yesterday, though, did announce they believe we are making a big effort here in the United States. They reached 200 million vaccines distributed within his first 100 days of presidency. That's about 25% of the country. But I did see a report yesterday, Tyler, we know that the city of Detroit has started walk-in vaccines, so you don't even need an appointment now. You can walk in to get your vaccine. That's being offered at 4 various locations throughout the city of Detroit, including the TCF Center. Beaumont Health is offering one today as well in the city of Southfield. You do not need an appointment. You can just walk in and get your vaccine. However, they are not seeing a high turnout as of yet.
Yeah, still a lot of vaccine hesitancy here in the state of Michigan. We are just above the middle of the road in terms of vaccine hesitancy. It's one of the more hesitant states populations, and we're still not very far along in the vaccination process here in Michigan, and especially with the current surge we're having, vaccines getting into people's arms is a big need right now. So all these efforts that are going in are going to have to get more creative. We're going to have to be more convincing to try to relax some of this hesitancy and get people vaccinated, get people safe, so we can start to come out of this pandemic and reduce the rate of cases going forward, because people are going to continue to get COVID-19 as this pandemic continues, and even after the pandemic, but we want to get it to a level that is safe for all of us to be out and about and not continue to spread this like wildfire as it has been for over a year.
Well, we know the state health department has already been pushing out messaging to try to convince people to get the vaccine. That's going to continue in the next few months. I think one of the things they're really looking at, the numbers. It appears more younger people aren't comfortable or haven't yet receive their vaccines. So I would imagine there's going to be a big campaign push to try to reach them through social media and TikTok. So look for that in the coming weeks.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me either. And I think that in terms of getting the vaccines out to more pop-up clinics in local areas, I think that also may help with this vaccine hesitancy situation as well, because people are going to be going into their neighborhoods around people that they know, or companies or businesses or places in the community that they're familiar with. And I think that it'll help having people that you're more familiar with, that you're neighbors of, that are there in your community, than go into a mass vaccination site maybe where you don't know the people, you don't have that personal relationship. Maybe that's going to have an impact, probably a small one at best, but any impact is a positive impact if it's reducing vaccine hesitancy and getting these shots in people's arms.
Yeah, I think one thing that could really help this, again, is if you can get it to the primary care doctors, because so many people have a relationship with those doctors. But, when we talked to Dr. Tawil before, one of the issues that we're also looking at is you have to remember the Pfizer vaccine requires very specific handling and temperature controls. And when you're talking about a mass distribution, that can become an issue in trying to get it to more providers and into the arms of more people.
Yeah, that's going to continue to be a problem, because not all these primary care doctor offices, in fact, very few of them, are going to be able to have A, the spacing, or B, the financial capacity to get what they need in their locations to store these vaccines properly, or to be able to, at the very least, make a safe calculation of how many vaccine they can get into people's arms on a daily basis that would prevent them from wasting doses that could be better served somewhere else. So that balancing act continues to make getting primary care physicians access to providing vaccines to patients a little more shaky.
Well, and you add into that this next headline, obviously, a lot of people were looking for the J&J shot, the Johnson & Johnson shot, to kind of fill that in between, because it's only one shot and it didn't require the very specialized refrigeration efforts. But the FDA inspection found problems at the factory that was making the J&J vaccine. Baltimore factory contracted to make Johnson & Johnson's COVID-19 vaccine was dirty, didn't follow proper manufacturing procedures, and had poorly trained staff, resulting in contamination of material that was going to be put in the shots, according to U.S. regulators. So the Food and Drug Administration released a statement, 13-page report detailing findings from its recent inspection of the now idle Emergent Biosciences factories. So agency inspectors said a batch of bulk drug substance for J&J's single-shot vaccine was contaminated with material used to make COVID-19 vaccines for another client, AstraZeneca. That batch, reportedly enough to make about 15 million J&J vaccine doses, had to be thrown out. And so other problems cited in the inspection report: peeling paint, black and brown residue on the floors and the walls in the factory, inadequate cleaning, and employees not following procedures to prevent the contamination. So we know that the J&J vaccine is on hold right now as the FDA continues to investigate reports of possible blood clots connected to the vaccine. We're only talking about 6 people out of about 6 million shots that had been distributed. But they also want to make sure that everyone knows, anyone here in the United States, if you already received the J&J shot, you do not have to worry about this contamination that happened at the Baltimore plant, because all of those shots that have been distributed so far in the United States, those actually came from a facility over in Europe. So they're saying those shots were okay. It's this latest batch here in Baltimore that was contaminated. But they go in, they do the inspection, not good results. And we should note that the FDA is expected tomorrow. They are going to be hearing more testimony regarding the J&J shot. And, I think I saw an interview over the weekend, Tyler, with Dr. Fauci, saying he anticipates that the J&J shots are going to resume possibly in the next few days, but it's going to come with a warning for doctors and for patients.
Yeah, we heard earlier this week that the J&J vaccine would likely be resumed at some point mid to late this week. Of course, we're in the later portions now, so if that does happen, it's likely either later on today or sometime tomorrow. Otherwise, it may be moved into next week. But this is not good news. We've continued to see where we've had problem areas throughout this pandemic with production of vaccine, that it's been involved with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. So with what's currently going on with the pause, on top of these past contamination or these past production issues with Johnson & Johnson, it can't be helping the confidence in that vaccine. Certainly can't be helping to reduce vaccine hesitancy, as we talked about with the last article. So definitely going to be a big concern for the FDA, and as they check in at other plants that are making the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, to make sure this isn't a problem across the board, with protocols being put in place to produce these vaccines, and even Pfizer and Moderna as well. While these are isolated incidents, hearing these isolated incidents, especially when vaccine distribution and getting shots in arms is so critical, is not news that's going to bring confidence even to those that aren't vaccine hesitant, because in this case, it just seems like lackadaisical, frankly, careless production happening at this plant, even if these vaccines are not, specifically, were not distributed into the United States, and those instead came from Europe.
And I could see behind the scenes how this happens. There's such a push and a rush to get things done and get things made. So there, steps aren't being taken that would probably be taken. But something of this nature, you're like, come on. It's ridiculous. It really is. So with that, just as a reminder, you can always find the latest headlines. Go to civiccentertv.com, click on the coronavirus link. Along with these articles, we actually have the full articles. The one about the vaccine, a great article today in Bridge Magazine. Please take some time and check that out, because we like to support local journalism and all the work that they are doing to help keep us informed throughout the crisis as well. With that, we're going to take a quick break here on the Megacast. When we come back, we have a great show ahead for you on this Friday Eve. We'll be talking with Cathy Wesley. She's a park naturalist over at West Bloomfield Parks. Did you remember? Today is Earth Day.
Yes.
So that is coming up next. And then in the 10:40 hour, we're going to be speaking with the president of Airotrust. What exactly is that, and why you and your company needs to know about it? That's all coming up in the 10 o'clock hour of the Megacast.
Quitting smoking can improve your health, but it also protects your loved ones from secondhand smoke. Did you know there's no risk-free level of exposure to secondhand smoke? Smoke from cigarettes, e-cigs, and hookah can travel through ventilation systems and harm those around you. So clear the air and stop secondhand smoke. Call the Michigan Tobacco Quit Line at 1-800-784-8669. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
I want to get back to seeing my grandbabies every Sunday and smothering them with big hugs and kisses.
I want to get back to football games with my boys.
I want to get back to feeling and touching, connecting with the people around me.
I want to get back to family dinners and my grandma's mac and cheese.
I want to get back to real grocery shopping, taking my time, walking down every aisle, smelling the tomatoes and melons, having a free sample or two, or 3.
COVID-19 has changed how we live and how we feel. But now, there are vaccines. And they are the first step that let us get back to feeling optimistic about the days ahead of us. It's okay to have questions.
Is it safe?
Should I get it?
Should I wait?
Now, get the facts. Learn more at getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision when vaccines are available to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Thank you for taking time out of your Thursday to be with us here on the Megacast. As a reminder, Tyler and I are here Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. until noon live, bringing you all the interesting interviews regarding the pandemic and how we are all surviving throughout this crisis. You can always catch us on Civic Center TV, Birmingham Area Municipal Access. If you have cable, you can tune us in. You'll find us channel 15 if you have Comcast, 99 on AT&T, and we make it easy for you if you're out and about. You can also listen to us on the radio, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM, The Beth. So many of you probably woke up today, you realized it was April 22nd. Oh, okay, Thursday, April 22nd. But did you know today is also Earth Day, and it is the 51st anniversary of Earth Day. To talk more about that, let's bring in Cathy Wesley. She's a park naturalist for the West Bloomfield Parks Department. Thank you so much for being with us.
Good morning. Happy Earth Day from the Nature Room.
What a cool place to spend Earth Day.
Yes, it is awesome. I get to spend it here with our lovely live animals and this lovely mural. It is definitely a great way to spend Earth Day.
So we think back to 2020, and all the celebrations were pretty much put on hold because we are in the very beginning stages of the pandemic. We're more than a year into this. Hopefully there are more ways that people can get out and enjoy Earth Day, because if anything over the past year, I think a lot of people have come to appreciate Mother Nature so much more.
Yes, there's always ways to celebrate Earth Day. So we actually had our Earth Day event Tuesday. So we partnered with some local conservation groups like the Oakland Audubon Society, the Clinton River Watershed, SISMA, and we had our event here at the Recreation Activity Center where there were activities, crafts, the outdoor natural play area. We also led hikes. So that was one way you could have celebrated. There's also lots of things that we can all do as individuals to help celebrate Earth Day. So at WB Parks, we have our green initiative. And so each year we add another new green practice to our to what we do here. So a couple of years ago, we started composting. This year we got canvas bags for when we go shopping for our programs and events. So there's always stuff to do to help the earth.
So I always feel bad, though, I will tell you, Cathy, is that I buy the recyclable bags and then I say, okay, I'm going to start using these. And then you buy your groceries, you put them in the bags, and then you bring them in the house and you always forget to put them back in your car. So then it starts the cycle over and over again. And but there are so many great documentaries on right now, like Netflix and Prime Video, talking about Mother Nature and the importance of Mother Nature and just some of the things that we're seeing because of the pandemic, like, excuse me, the number of masks and gloves that have been washing up in like our wetlands because people aren't properly disposing of them.
Yeah, so the masks are kind of like the new pop ring. So if you use disposable masks, a good thing to do would be to cut those straps before you throw them away. Definitely make sure you find like a waste receptacle to put them in. But yeah,
why do you cut the straps? Is it
so those are getting caught on animals, just like a few years ago how everyone was told those pop rings that are on like 6 packs of pop, to make sure you cut those. Those straps are getting caught on wildlife, so make sure you cut those strings.
So with that too, do you think people really are starting to understand and appreciate Mother Nature more because of the pandemic?
Oh, absolutely. We've definitely seen an increase in the number of patrons visiting the parks over the past year, just because, like you were saying, people are trying to get out and about. We've also gotten lots of questions about what people can do. So we've had like lots of groups come and ask, oh, can we do a cleanup? Oh, can we help remove invasive species? That's something else that people can do to help the planet, and that's something great to celebrate Earth Day, is to remove non-native invasive species from your property and plant native ones. We have some stewardship days coming up this Saturday. We have our first garlic mustard stewardship. So I'll be taking a group of people out and teaching them what garlic mustard is and why you need to worry about it and how to remove it from your property. And then after you remove it, you want to plant native things. So we have our native plant sale coming up in May, where you can order plants from Ecology and then do a curbside pickup at Marshbank. And so you're replacing those non-native invasives with native plants that help our wildlife.
I will say I'm curious now because garlic mustard sounds like something good.
So garlic mustard is edible, actually. It was brought over. So a non-native invasive is a plant or animal that was brought over after the European settlement. So the European settlers that came to America actually brought garlic mustard as a food source because they didn't know what was going to be here to eat. So you can eat garlic mustard. It is in the mustard family, but it smells and tastes a lot like garlic. So you can substitute the garlic in your dish with this leafy green. I've had pesto made from it. I've had it where it's in potato salad. It's actually pretty tasty.
Yeah, I will say one thing that I have come to hate, absolutely hate, is buckthorn. We live on the West Bloomfield Trail. And I know, even a couple weeks ago, some of the neighbors and I got together and we were, cleaning up along the trail because we do know that so much of our trash on trash day, just windy days, it blows and then it ends up on the trail and this, that, and the other. And cleaning up, and of course you get all scratched up, and it is the worst stuff to try to get rid of.
It is, and the best time to get rid of like the woody invasives like that is actually in the fall, because in the fall the woody plants are drawing all their nutrient down into the root ball. So the best thing to do is actually to cut them, and then you can paint. It's called painting the stump with herbicide, so you don't have it's not getting into anything else because you're directly painting the stump of the plant that you cut, and it's then drawing that chemical down into its root ball, and that's what can kill it actually. So that's the best time to take care of that woody, horrible, glossy buckthorn.
I'm marking that as my calendar or something to remember because it does multiply like gremlins.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. Once invasives get that foothold, it is really hard. But if, that old adage, many hands make light work. So if everybody just kind of deals with the invasives on their property, it would drastically slow the spread of all these invasives.
How do people know what's invasive and what isn't?
So in this area, we have some common invasives like garlic mustard, Dame's rocket, the buckthorn, Phragmites with all the lakes and everything. So that really tall, dense, feathery grass that grows in waterways. There's a lot of great resources out there. Again, we offer stewardship hikes where we're focusing on different invasives, and we teach people about them to educate them so they can then manage them on their property.
So we're talking with Cathy Wesley. She's a park naturalist for the West Bloomfield Parks Department, talking about Earth Day. Do you think having a day such as Earth Day really raises awareness and people appreciate Mother Earth more? Or is it one of the days where people go, another holiday?
No, I think it absolutely raises that awareness because we have this day and we have all these special events to celebrate it. It definitely makes people aware of all the different things that they can do to help celebrate the earth and how they can help take care of it as well. So if that's from, doing a trash cleanup on Earth Day, to doing, a stewardship hike, to planting native plants, that all is definitely helping the planet.
So, Cathy, what other events do you guys have coming up here with the Parks Department? Because you guys do a really good job of being creative, especially over the past year.
Oh, thank you. Yes, we always have lots of different programs coming up. So some other programs we have are this spring. I'm leading a spring bird walk. And so we'll be looking at the birds that are starting to migrate back to Michigan. So a lot of warblers and stuff like that. That's a nice early morning bird walk at 7 a.m. We also have...
I will say, I don't know what it is about the birds, but in our backyard, they're having a party. Like at 5 a.m, man, you are waking up. They're like just going at it. 5, 6 a.m, it doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, definitely. So it's those males calling for the females saying, hey ladies, got some tree for you, just build a nest. So we have the bird walk coming up. We have a bunch of senior hikes. So the next senior hike I am leading is at Bloomer Park to look at what's doing the bloomin' at Bloomer. We also have our perennial swap. So we have our native plant sale that's coming up in May. So after you remove those invasives, you can plant some native plants, but then we also have our perennial swap where you bring in something from your garden and you can swap it with something that someone else brought. All this information for all of our upcoming programs can be found at our website, so wbparks.org. And we have stuff for all ages. We have the seniors, the adults, families, and registration just opened up for our camps for both Camp WB and our nature camp this summer. So hoping to get a lot of kids signed up for nature camp, because then when they come to nature camp, they learn to appreciate the nature around them, and then they become stewards of the land. And that's what we really want to do. So as always, we have lots of programs, and you can find them at wbparks.org.
So, Cathy, if I can ask you, because you are a naturalist, obviously we just went through this cold snap. Any advice for people out there right now? Because everything was starting to bloom and look so pretty.
So it's, we live in Michigan. It's not uncommon for us to have these cold spells. And so the plants and animals are kind of adapted to deal with that, because it's not just the weather that kind of that the plants and animals go off of. It's the photo period. So it's the amount of daylight that we have that really signals to these organisms what to do. So even those cold snaps, we are like reptile and amphibian population, they just kind of like burrowed back down under things to kind of keep warm. We might have lost some of our plants, but there's plenty of them that'll still come up and everything. So I wouldn't worry too much about that.
We're talking about Cathy Wesley. She's a park naturalist for the West Bloomfield Parks. Cathy, just another minute or two here with you on the Megacast. If we can go back briefly to talk about the upcoming summer camps, I would imagine, do you anticipate those are going to fill up pretty quickly?
So our registration started Monday, and we have had some that have filled up already. But we do have some weeks that are still available. So for nature camp in particular, we have some camps that are meant just for really young kids, so like 2 to 4. Those are half-day camps. And then we have camps that are full day, and those are from 6 to 13-year-olds. And they all kind of, each week has a different theme. So like one week is animals through the ages, another is wild water week. And so each one has a different nature theme that it focuses on.
I have a feeling there are going to be so many parents after this year of some remote learning, back in the classroom, back to remote. They are going to look forward to trying to get their kids outdoors and into some of these camps.
Yes, and our camps, because of COVID, our camps, both Nature Camp and Camp WB, are run 100% outside. So it definitely gets them away from the screens, gets them up and moving and outdoors and having a good time.
Cathy, anything else that I didn't touch on that you want to mention before we say goodbye?
So something fun and exciting that people might have been hearing about is the cicadas, the brood X. That is the big deal right now that's going on in the
they're so
entomology
loud.
world. Yes. So brood X is what's called a periodical cicada. So they have been underground for the last 17 years. And this end of May, beginning of June, they will emerge. And they will emerge in some areas further south of here. We really won't get too many in West Bloomfield, but Ann Arbor is the closest kind of site for us. They will emerge where there's 1 million per acre.
What? It's like their coming out party.
It is. And it's a survival adaptation, because when they all emerge at once like that, there's so many of them that the predators can't pick them off. And with how loud they are, at their peak time, it's about 100 decibels, which is equivalent to the sound of a motorcycle. So that's how loud they are. And it's that loud, like, ee-oh, that they make. And that's the males calling to the females to mate. That's what they're doing when they come up.
So with that, I could say something right now about the human species males trying to come up with ways to attract females to mate, but we won't go there. So with that, how long do they live? Do we anticipate, is it just the noise that's going to be bothersome to some people?
So they are not poisonous. They don't have stingers. So if your pet eats them, it's not a big deal. There's actually cookbooks for people on how to cook them and eat them. I don't know if I'm that brave, but it's pretty much just a noise. They're kind of clumsy flyers, so they might land on you because, again, they're a little clumsy. And after they emerge, it takes them 4 to 6 days for their bodies to completely harden before they start their adult activity. And then they're just alive for about 2 weeks. But the total emergence of all of them lasts about 6 weeks.
So with that, Cathy, is it kind of like the fish flies, where then you see them laying around?
Yeah, so what happens is they come up, because right now they are underground and have been for 17 years, drinking sap from plant roots. And they'll come up at night after the soil reaches about 64 degrees. They'll come up and then they puff themselves full of air and they split down their exoskeleton. And so you'll see those clinging to trees and plants and everything. And the adults have wings. And the brood X, so this periodical cicada, they are black with red eyes, which is different from our annual cicadas that we hear every year. And they'll fly around, and then, after they mate and lay eggs, we'll find the remains of the adults, because then they do die shortly afterwards. So they're only alive as an adult for about 2 to 3 weeks.
Well, I'll be sure to avoid Ann Arbor during that time.
Yes, if you don't like them, definitely avoid them. We shouldn't have too many in this area, but it's definitely something cool because it's the largest insect emergence in the world, actually. So it's exciting.
Look at your enthusiasm. Cathy Wesley with us here on the Megacast. She's a park naturalist with the West Bloomfield Parks. You do have a really fun job, Cathy.
Yes, absolutely. I love teaching people about nature and taking them out there and showing them stuff that they might think is kind of gross, but it's super cool.
And we should note, too, that the West Bloomfield Parks Department, I know you guys are always hiring for summer, or even the Department of Natural Resources. So if you're someone, you enjoy the outdoors, please help them out and look into joining their team this summer. Cathy, thank you again for being with us.
Thank you for having me. Enjoy the rest of this wonderful Earth Day.
Thank you. You too, Cathy Wesley, park naturalist for the West Bloomfield Parks. Go ahead, plant a seed, do something nice for Mother Earth. on this Earth Day. We're going to take a quick break here on the Megacast, and when we come back, we are going to be talking to the president of a manufacturing company that came up with something unique to help companies throughout the pandemic. This is the Megacast.
Over a decade ago, the journey to a COVID vaccine began. Building upon research on other coronaviruses, scientists continued with months of research and development, 3 phases of clinical trials with tens of thousands of diverse volunteers, then peer review and authorization to deliver a safe and effective vaccine that will protect all of us. Discover the facts for yourself at michigan.gov/COVID vaccine.
Quitting smoking can improve your health, but it also protects your loved ones from secondhand smoke. Did you know there's no risk-free level of exposure to secondhand smoke? Smoke from cigarettes, e-cigs, and hookah can travel through ventilation systems and harm those around you. So clear the air and stop secondhand smoke. Call the Michigan Tobacco Quit Line at 1-800-784-8669. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Wearing a mask is more than protection. It's a bridge to better days. The path back to celebrations with family. Nights out on the town with friends. Game days with your favorite sports teams. And the thrill of live concerts. But until we can all get the COVID-19 vaccine and build community immunity, which will take time, we all need to continue to stay careful. Because Michigan's recovery is depending on you, and so are your family, friends, and neighbors. So even after you're vaccinated, wear a mask, avoid large gatherings, and social distance. One day in the near future, we will all be able to put this pandemic behind us. But until then, spread hope, not COVID. Learn more at michigan.gov/coronavirus. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Thank you for taking time out of your day to be with us here on the Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl here in my home studios. Mr. Tyler Keefe being our superhero on this Earth Day, holding things down back there at the office in West Bloomfield. We always want to say thank you to Tyler for all of your help in being able to get this show on the air each and every day. You know, over the past year, we have heard the word pivot so many times, but some companies have actually taken that to heart and come up with brand new innovations to try to help us throughout the pandemic. One of those companies is Airotrust and Storch Product Company. And to talk more about this latest innovation, let's bring in Matt Carr. He's the president. Thank you so much for being with us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so before we get into how you came up with this, tell us exactly about this new system.
So Airotrust is an apparatus that can hold a pleated filter, similar to like the same sort of filter that all of us are used to putting into our HVAC systems at home. And
so like the filters that we always forget to change out?
that same filter, right? And it's ironically, what you just said happens far too often with businesses, restaurants, any indoor space. Those don't necessarily get changed on a frequent basis, right? Because you can't see them. So what we did, we created an apparatus that holds a similar type of filter. It also allows you to increase the filter's efficiency from like a MERV 8, for example, all the way up to a MERV 13. And it puts it in a place where we all can see it. It's visual, and our first product sticks to ceiling grids, which tens of millions of those are in the United States alone. It's the 2x2 ceiling tile grids with the supply vents that we all have above our heads, virtually everywhere we're indoors.
So when you look up, then you would see it because it just basically attaches then, right?
Yeah, we're a magnet company. We've done 300 million magnets over the last 70 years. So during the development phase, the easiest way you could attach something would be to create a device that has no fasteners or screws or is cumbersome. It sticks on as easy as a refrigerator magnet, the way we've engineered and patented this.
So obviously, it's pretty evident as to why you did this. But it's one thing to be, even though you were a manufacturing company, you think about it But to go from that thought process to actually making the product, testing it, and now selling it, what was that process like?
So we do a really good job. One of the pieces that we all talk about, if we go back just 2 steps, we're a manufacturing company first and foremost here. And because we weld and we have a laser and we produce metal dust, there's air quality issues that companies like ourselves constantly face. Throughout the course of the last 10 years, we've added additional HEPA filtration systems to our manufacturing shop. But that dust and that weld smoke and those other particulates found their way into the front offices, which is in the same building. It's connected. It was really through the idea of it's time to address the front offices. And we didn't really see anything that was out in the marketplace that we liked. So we simply tried to make a metal version of what became Airotrust that would hold a filter and magnetically stick in my office is where the was really born. I just wanted to have something overhead. We had about 22 of 27 employees laid off when COVID was at its peak last year in Wayne County here where we're located. And as we brought back the employees and they saw this piece that was starting to be created, every single one of them wanted it above their head inside of the office. And we went from metal variations into fiberglass hand-laid components and plastics, and now we're full-blown plastic injection molding, and this is going large scale.
So this was actually thought about prior to COVID about air quality. And before that, so many people didn't really think about it, especially in our restaurants and our schools. But now after COVID, it's become a big topic of interest.
Well, we're hyper-focused on the quality of air. You know, the one thing, everything's so separated these days, and, you know, world's a crazy place, we'll say that, but we all want clean, safe air. I think every single one of us can come together on that, right? And that's what this does. This can reduce particulates by a significant amount. I provided a couple slides to you. One, for example, with the MERV 13 filter, we've seen a 94% reduction of particles passing through this Airotrust apparatus in a single pass. So that means that every time that volume of air goes through that supply vent and dumps directly above your head, quite frankly, we have reduced 94% of those particles and everything that's hazardous that is riding on those. We've got a significant amount of data, and we're able to do on-site testing so that you can see that live, the difference of where you're at right now versus where you could be with an Airotrust unit. And we can give ratings as low as 0.3 micron all the way up to 10 live in that test.
So Matt, what's been the response to this product from businesses? Or have you even had really the chance to get out and start marketing it?
Oh, we have. We've had a lot of success stories. You know, they're down at MIAT, the College of Technology in Canton, Michigan, for example, and they have every one of their supply vents covered and have done so since last fall. They kept a lot of their campuses open, both in Houston as well as the Canton, Michigan location. We've done Covenant House Academy in multiple locations, which we're super proud of. And that might be personally one of the most rewarding stories for us. I went over there and installed some units, and there was a young man that's trying to finish his education, and he may be done by now. He was struggling like the other 90% of their students that were learning like we're having right now through Zoom. He needed to have that in-person learning. And the difference of Airotrust, he explained to me when he had told his mom and dad that it was in place, gave them the confidence, let them go back to school. You know, they've done everything they can over there. They've got dividers, they have masks, they're sanitizing, but they even address the HVAC in a visual manner.
We're talking with Matt Carr. He's the president for Airotrust and Storch Product Company. And with that, Matt, we are hearing talk about this, I think, for the regular person, really the focus on air quality and circulation of the air coming from when we get on an airplane. And so is this something that could be somewhat similar for people to understand that it is reducing, what you're saying are, the bad things and letting only the good things through?
Well, we want to get virtually everything out, right? There isn't much that's good. Particles have been proven, and it's really up for everyone to do their own research. We at Airotrust, we don't make claims that this is a solution to COVID. There is no single source solution. I want to make sure I'm really clear about that today. But just eliminating debris that's in the air, the ability to have cleaner air and go home and know that you don't feel as wore down or as fatigued, right? That's a noticeable difference working inside an environment where you have Airotrust units. I felt it myself for 12 years inside of this facility, and in the last several months, it's been noticeably different. We have 15 of them in place here in our offices. So to get back to your question, look, anybody that's having seasonal allergies and so many of these other things that are viruses that are larger than COVID, and bacteria, mold spores, for example, dander, and just traffic, shop dust, traffic from high-lows, cardboard boxes, loading areas, machining areas where there's coolants and things of that sort, all the way up to something I'm really excited about now. We know Airotrust is here to stay because some of our most successful customers have deployed our carbon filter, and that's used for removing VOCs and wildfire smoke out of an indoor environment. So where we don't see that quite so much in Michigan, California, and other areas where they are constantly experiencing wildfires, this is significant for them.
I would think this would be something that would be great for people with asthma as well.
Absolutely. You know, I would encourage anyone that owns a small business to at least take a look at this, maybe call us for a free demo, for a test, and see what it can do. The feedback that we've had when I've had candidates coming in to hire, and they can see the extents that we've gone to try to make sure that this is a safe environment, it matters. And if you stay out of the debate about masks and things of that sort, again, we all want that clean, safe air, but you also have employees that are extremely concerned, no matter how much you may not be, right? And to be able to have these in place, it's a real small cost, and it's a no-brainer to keep something like this deployed.
We're talking with Matt Carr. He's the president for Airotrust and Storch Product Company. And with Matt, we know that it's perfect for office spaces because of the way that's set up. It's the magnets that just goes on, and we know they have the tiles typically with the metal. Are you looking at trying to produce something like this for homes? Because we don't have the metal for them to stick on, like in an office setting.
You know, we are not going to do that at this time. I'm looking at, this is a pivot, as you mentioned. We're a well-established 70-year-old company. We're doing great right now with our other products that we manufacture. And the challenge to try to get this out into the industry has been difficult in its own right. People haven't known to search for what we've now trademarked building mask, for example. And they're being sold much more complex solutions at a much higher price. Our office, for example, received a quote for $60,000 for a system that had UV, and it's a spaceship that sits on top of the building that everybody would forget about next week because they can't see it and they don't know if it's been maintained. We come around, and the most difficult thing about this whole process of developing the product is that it's so affordable and can be deployed everywhere. And because we didn't make a special filter, we used an industry standard filter. You have the choice of using any filter brand or manufacturer of your choosing. The only thing that we bring to the table is third-party testing now that can offer some additional validations, because the real secret for Airotrust, if we want to share that and why it works, we believe we get a lot better efficiencies using the same filters as you'd have up on top of your roof, because we're at like 1/10 of the speed, if not 1/20th. See, HVAC systems run at like 490 feet in a commercial setting, but the supply vent that's only directly above your head is going to be about 35. So it's a much slower capture rate, and we're catching more particles.
So with that, I can think of a couple businesses right off the top of my head, because when we go to like a dentist or a beauty salon and they put you back in the chair, you immediately look up. And there's nothing worse than when you look up and you see, the dirt all around their, like their systems. This is something that's perfect for that. If anything, also, it's what you said, it's about making people feel more comfortable as well.
Correct. If a mask works great for your face, and there's been so many studies that have shown that they can reduce particles in the same manner, then a building mask only makes sense.
So with that, how can people find out more information?
They could visit us at airotrust.com. That's spelled AIROTRUST.com, or at Storch, STORCH, magnetics, MAGNETICS.com to learn more.
So have you been able to bring back all of your employees?
We have, absolutely.
How's the other side of the business going for you?
We're gangbusters. We're actively looking for welders, and we're looking for salespeople. But don't mind picking that up.
No, please go ahead and plug it all you want, because that is the theme we have heard over and over and over, the lack of employees. So many businesses, it's one of their biggest challenges right now is trying to get employees and skilled employees as well.
You said it so well. Thank you.
So what is the average cost of this, by the way? Do you mind me asking?
I don't mind you asking. I don't mind unveiling on the show here. We've now packaged this in a new patent pending method of using a 4-piece design, which saves on freight significantly and packaging. And we're targeting under $100 for a turnkey product. So if anyone's interested, that's just far less than any other solution that exists.
I'm telling you, if I'm a business, this seems to be so perfect. Just let's put COVID aside. Just from so many other things that are floating around in our air. We've all had it in the office settings. And you look up and you're like, because they aren't changing the filters. They're not thinking about that. They're running businesses, right? So this is just something else outside of COVID that really seems brilliant.
I appreciate it. We think so. We've got additional filters we'll be unveiling in the next week that we're doing final development with now. And I'll mention that a washable version is in process, which means you won't have to continuously buy cartridges. We'll have a for-life washable that can be reused and put back in service. So it's really not a significant investment, and we've got lots of units on hand and are happy to do demos should anybody be interested.
So with that too, Matt, if I can ask, because I did watch the videos earlier, and it basically is just, it attaches to the square, in someone's office. So would they need one for how many would you need per building, or it depends on the space, like one per so many feet? How are you looking at that?
We recommend, and the reason we've tried to get the cost down is that we recommend putting one on every supply vent. If you're sitting in your car and you picture this real quick and you shut off 3 of the 4 vents and you've got air roaring out of one vent, it's going to throw off the balance of the system. We don't put any load on the system because what we've done is gone to high capacity filters that have so much square footage of material that it hasn't made an effect on the coil or the condenser. That's been the biggest challenge. HVAC companies have said, this is something you shouldn't do. This is kind of taboo. We should have never done anything like it. No one's patented or developed a product like this. And frankly, they've fought to hide filters. Nobody wanted to see them, we thought, for this whole time frame. So here's these guys that are making conveyors and are heavily into magnets, and we're out of the box thinkers. And we just took a much different approach. And it's been a little slow to launch, but the customers that have done it have been ecstatic and really, really like it.
Well, and do you think it's also helped you because you are a smaller manufacturing company that you were able to take and pivot and go with this out of the box thinking?
I think that that's the most wonderful thing for working for a company like Storch, someone that's this size and this well established. We had the resources to be able to start up a new project like that, to take a chance. And many of those don't necessarily work, right? Not all of those startups are successful. So we're in good position. We're not going anywhere. This is a well-established organization that's behind Airotrust, and we expect this to continue for quite some time.
Now we just need people to understand that the product is out there. The cost is such an incredible price point, but also the great thing, you're keeping jobs here in the state of Michigan.
Yeah, this product is made in Michigan, period, which is pretty exciting.
Well, Matt, it's been great talking to you again. Anything maybe I didn't touch on that you want to share with us? What about anything about Storch, the other company, Storch?
Yeah, Storch, you may have seen, we've had quite a bit of press over the last 2 years. We developed another product about 5 years ago called Super Mag, and that's used for pulling ferrous metal debris off of the shoulders of highways. We've been finding a lot of ferrous metal debris on synthetic athletic surfaces. It can also be used for that. Super Mag is deployed up in the Upper Peninsula on the MyTrail systems that they manage for the DNR. And those are snowmobile, ORV, and horse trails where they were existing railroad tracks for 100 years. They got repurposed. And every spring around this time, as the ground thaws and it heaves, it pushes spikes and tie plates up to that surface, which wreak havoc on the ATV industry and really everyone that's coming to visit those regions. So what's neat is that it's so strong it can suck that stuff right up off the ground. And magnetic conveyors, of course, are removing chips from coolant, and every major manufacturer that's out there supplying every OEM and every construction company virtually worldwide using Storch conveyors to get chips out of coolant.
That's awesome. I will say we found some of those, some of the things from the railroad tracks in our backyard. We're on the West Bloomfield Trail with that. Can you use it in the waterway?
You can. We've got a new version. It was out. It's on our website. We developed one that we want to be able to get fish hooks and hazardous debris out of the waterway. So there is a underwater submersible super mag. We had the privilege of working with the Oakland County dive team about a year and a half ago to try that out. And look, the development of a couple of fun projects like that needed to get to the back shelf because we wanted to get Michiganders and really everyone back indoors, feeling safe when the time's ready, and ready to get back to work and overcome fear. We've been in a habit now for 12 months plus, and it's going to be hard to get people to feel safe coming back indoors. I hope Airotrust can do that.
Definitely, especially as hopefully we know the extension has been extended for 6 months for businesses to allow their office workers back. But this is a great time over the next 6 weeks or 6 months rather to get this product in and test it and let their employees feel good about returning to the office. Matt, thank you so much for being with us.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the interest in us.
And again, if you guys ever do another dive team exercise on the water super magnet, I want to be there.
All right.
Let Sheriff Bouchard know that he needs to invite me to come out.
He was gracious to let us do that. I appreciated his efforts for that and interest.
Matt Carr with us. He's the president, Airotrust and Storch Product Company. We appreciate your time today.
Thank you all for your time.
We're going to take a quick break here on the Megacast. When we come back, we are going to be speaking with Brian Calley, the president for the Small Business Association. That's next here on the Megacast.
Finally, I just got my COVID-19 vaccine.
I registered with my local health department and they called me.
I got mine at the pharmacy and my neighbor got hers from the hospital.
I'm not a techie person, so I called the COVID hotline and they helped me schedule an appointment.
Get vaccinated with the first vaccine you can. Protect us all.
Learn more at michigan.gov/COVID vaccine. COVID-19 has caused many families to fall behind on finances and on groceries, but you're not alone. You shouldn't have to worry about putting food on the table. MyBridges offers access to quality food and income assistance to help families across the state get the food support they need. It's easy to apply and easy to start shopping. Apply for services at michigan.gov/MIBridges. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
I want to get back to seeing my grandbabies every Sunday and smothering them with big hugs and kisses.
I want to get back to football games with my boys.
I want to get back to feeling and touching, connecting with the people around me.
I want to get back to family dinners and my grandma's mac and cheese.
I want to get back to real grocery shopping. Taking my time, walking down every aisle, smelling the tomatoes and melons, having a free sample or two, or 3.
COVID-19 has changed how we live and how we feel. But now, there are vaccines. And they are the first step that let us get back to feeling optimistic about the days ahead of us. It's okay to have questions.
Is it safe?
Should I get it?
Should I wait?
Now, get the facts. Learn more at getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision when vaccines are available to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Right now, our country feels divided, but there's a place where people are coming together.
I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too. Love Has No Labels and One Small Step are helping people with different political views, beliefs, and experiences connect through conversation, and it feels good.
This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope, too. Take a step toward bringing our country and your community together. Start a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/one small step. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
Over a decade ago, the journey to a COVID vaccine began. Building upon research on other coronaviruses, scientists continued with months of research and development, 3 phases of clinical trials with tens of thousands of diverse volunteers, then peer review and authorization to deliver a safe and effective vaccine that will protect all of us. Discover the facts for yourself at michigan.gov/COVID vaccine.
listening to 89.3 WBLD, 88.1 WBFH. Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl here in my home studios. Mr. Tyler Keefe holding things down back there at Civic Center TV. For so many of the small businesses, they are still struggling throughout the pandemic. There has been some hope and some lifelines, but as we continue to navigate through the COVID-19 crisis, their struggles are not over just yet. To talk a little bit more about the survival of so many of these small businesses, let's bring in Brian Calley. He's the president for the Small Business Association of Michigan. It has been a tough year.
It really has, and it's really just stretching out to be, about a year and a half or year and several months now that certain industries are really still struggling substantially. We have seen some good signs in the overall labor statistics and rehiring that's happening. Actually, it's kind of a tight labor market at the moment in a lot of different industries. But restaurants and bars and any type of business that revolves around bringing people together still struggling a lot in this recovery. In a lot of ways, their recovery is only just now starting, whereas recovery and in construction, a lot of lines of businesses, their recovery really started last summer. So I think it's important that we keep in mind these top line economic statistics are headed in the right direction. But underneath that, when you get into the layers of it, there are some industries and those industries that tend to be dominated by smaller businesses are the ones struggling the most.
I mean, and we see the headlines. We know the headlines where it's relief is coming. And for some of the businesses, they are able to take advantage of some of these grants that are being offered to them. But when you think about this, like the music venues that are still closed, or so many of the restaurants that are still operating at reduced capacity and limited hours, while they're able to reopen the doors, it's not business as usual. So for some of them that maybe even the ones or some, it's been hard to get the money that's become available through these grants because the need has been so great. And for others, that money runs out pretty quickly. Because if you're talking about 20, 40, 50,000, but we're over a year into this pandemic, it can be hard to stretch those resources. Are there any other programs in the pipeline?
The reason that we always, whenever we talk about this, about relief programs, we like to start with the fact that there is no substitute for being allowed to be open. Right? So that's the top line message. Given the fact, though, that so many businesses have been either directly closed by government orders or, as a practical matter, closed by government orders, there are some relief programs that have been effective in the past, and a few new ones that are just coming out now. So, a few I'd like to highlight through the Small Business Administration, the United States Small Business Administration. The Restaurant Revitalization Fund, they put out the SBA put out the rules and the guidelines on that just this past week. And I think that'll be big for restaurants. Go to sba.gov if you're a restaurant, food truck, or a bar, or anybody whose food and drink is the main line of business. This is going to be relevant to you, and it's probably going to be more important even than the Paycheck Protection Program. And then there's the Shuttered Venues Grant for those performance venues that have either directly or because of the limitations and the size of gatherings, as a practical matter, been closed for more than a year. Those two, I think, are going to be particularly important for those industries. And while there's been a lot of noise, a lot of things going on out there, if you're in those two industries, I would say that this is something that you ought to drop everything else and pay attention to. Because they're bigger in many ways, many cases. I think it's going to be more important to those industries than the Paycheck Protection Program.
So for some of the businesses that are frustrated because maybe they weren't able to get through to try to get help in some of the other programs, this could be their opportunity.
Yeah, sometimes the other programs, when you build a program and you try to structure it so that it works for everybody, but businesses are so different one from another that when you structure it a certain way, even if you do a good job at making sure it helps most businesses, you still have many that for the intricacies of the construction of the program, it just didn't work very well for. And I think shuttered venues, performance venues, are a good example of that. they're not labor heavy, but they're capital intensive and very expensive to maintain and hold. And so the Paycheck Protection Program really didn't do much for them. So I think the Shuttered Venues grant is going to matter a lot for them. And for restaurants, of course, they've been under either closure or restricted capacity orders for over a year. And so rebuilding that business, getting back to business, and then even when you're operating, it's much more expensive to operate under today's rules as compared to normal times. So I think that's going to be really important that the Restaurant Revitalization Fund, and I'm worried that it's going to run out too. There'll be a rush on it, and the need is great in that industry, and so I don't have good sense for whether or not they appropriated enough money for it until it opens. We really won't know, but I think that it's going to be a key component to the recovery of that industry.
We're talking with Brian Calley. He's the president for the Small Business Association of Michigan. One of the sad things, though, is we are hearing of restaurants that are having to close down because they simply cannot find enough employees.
Yeah, this is starting to pop up across a lot of different industries. And restaurants, because they were restricted for so long, many of their regular employees had to go find other opportunities. And so they're just not available anymore. And then on top of that, you have the unemployment insurance rule changes that have allowed for much longer stays on unemployment. So I know that a lot of employers are feeling like, boy, it's one thing to compete with other employees or other employers to get employees, but now I've got to compete with the government to get my employees back. And so that's what I think it is important that the mindset around the way that public policy is managed for unemployment, the unemployment safety net, that has to change. At a time now when there is massive demand for people, we really do have to encourage people to get back into the workforce as opposed to waiting on the sidelines, especially this far in, and especially when we know that there's a huge demand growing for people.
And with that, Brian, we know some people are saying, pay them more, entice them to come back. But you drive up and down the roadway, you'll see every fast food restaurant is hiring with signs, bonus, sign-on bonus, come work here. Starbucks, which is one of the, better, food outlets to work for, because I think they offer insurance at, I don't know if it's 24 hours a week or 32 hours a week, but they offer insurance. But they're even struggling right now, having to reduce those hours. And it's like you said, because even if you get employees back, especially those that worked on tips, they're not making the tips that they once made. So they're weighing, do I want to come back to that industry? Then when you had the governor recently say, don't eat indoors at a restaurant, well, she didn't make it, a mandate. It was a recommendation. It continues this cycle, which for small business owners can just really be the death of their company. You put all of these things together.
I had a member just last week that was sharing with me her hiring efforts on a brewery and offering $16 an hour now, and health insurance benefits, 401k, paid time off, just a really attractive package, and is having a hard time to even getting people to apply. And so I think what people are sometimes thinking is that, hey, unemployment, right now with the federal and the state benefit together, it's about $600 a week, or it could be close to $700 actually a week. And so it's not that you just have to beat $600 or $700. It's that you have to beat that per week. You have to beat that by a lot in order to make it, because if you're going to pay $1,000 a week, then to the person who's making that decision, do I go back to work now or not? Then really the differential is only $350. So it's like, do I want to go back to work full time? And the difference is only $350. So I think that's where I think the public policymakers are kind of missing the ball here, is that it's not just the idea that you got to beat the unemployment system, and the unemployment system is paying as much as a lot of these jobs used to pay or more before, but you've got to be way, way over that in order to entice people to come back.
And so with that right now too, we are hearing so much about the vaccine passports, as they are calling them. The Dodgers announced today that they're going to allow fans back into what they're calling a vaccinated section. So you have to prove that you've been vaccinated, then they'll allow you to sit in one section. You still have to wear a mask. Do you anticipate that's going to continue as more and more states open up?
Well, at the moment, businesses are free to set the policies that they want and whatever their customers are demanding, and that goes for their employees and for people that are coming onto their property. We've had a lot of discussion among our members, and while we haven't formalized a position yet, there's a process for that regarding vaccine passports and a whole host of issues around vaccines. I can tell, though, that business owners, by and large, do not want to be in the middle of mandating or in the middle of enforcing mandates on vaccines. But we also think that it's important for them to maintain the autonomy to make the decisions of what's best for their business. So on the one hand, I don't expect, certainly most small businesses, to police or ask for whether or not somebody has been vaccinated. I also think it would be problematic for the government to essentially tell all businesses, here's what your vaccine policy has to be. That is something that ought to remain in the purview of that business owner.
Yeah, what a tough time to be a business owner, because, we even saw this discussion at the beginning of the pandemic when it came to COVID-19 testing and the rules around HIPAA. When do you share who, was exposed to COVID? If you have a small team or a large team, were they exposed to one individual or not, but you can't give out that individual's name? And can you require someone to have a negative COVID test to come back to work? There are so many things that just make it such a struggle for so many of these business owners, especially small business owners right now.
And it's not just understanding what the law says, but it's also just the way that you operate your relationship with your employees and with your customers. People don't want to get in other people's business, and that's in terms of their private affairs. And are you going to get your vaccine or not? And a lot of people are proud of it, and they put it right out there. That's great. But the idea of expecting a business owner to be the vaccine police on their customers and employees, regardless of whether or not that's legal, it's just a bad idea, because these are individuals that have so much on their plate already. It's obviously a very controversial issue, and maybe it shouldn't be, but it is. And so the idea that you would expect that that person that's already kind of struggling to survive and win their customers back and say on top of that, hey, the government's going to ask you to be the vaccine police, it's just not going to work.
It didn't even work to ask people coming into your establishment their name and their contact info. So, it's just a crazy world that we live in right now. And speaking of that, if we can jump topics just a little bit here, I know that some business leaders here in the state of Michigan recently came out together in a stand of solidarity to talk about, some of the issues around voting, and really urging our elected leaders not to make it more difficult for people to vote. And we've seen the backlash of what happened in Georgia. Is there room for politics and business?
Well, certainly there's engagement by business in politics. For our part, our members have been very adamant. You stick to business issues. And so if it's regulation or taxes, in this case, it's getting very much into public health issues that impact business operations. That's all within the purview of the sorts of things that we get involved in. I think that my members would probably fire me if I used our bandwidth advocacy on things like what should the voting laws be. As long as we've got members that are closed down, members that are still very restricted, I think there's a determination that we need to keep our focus on creating an environment of success around small business owners and entrepreneurs, whether they're starting up or they've been in business for a long time or they're looking to pass the business on to another generation. that giving the best shot for our communities in the future is creating an environment of success around the ones who are already here, the ones that have already put their time and their treasure and their reputation into this enterprise. So for our part, I expect that we will stay focused on those business issues, and some of the other players might get involved in a lot of other issues outside of business, but that won't be for us.
And with that, we do know that, so many businesses, they are big political donors to so many of these elected leaders. But you also wonder, is this really the time to be taking on voting issues when we're still in the middle of the pandemic? We are still struggling to get people back into the offices. How many more businesses are going to continue to close? Will we even see our downtown areas get back to where they once were? That should be the focus right now.
I think that's it's a really important point that it's, I talked earlier about industries, but it's also regions and then neighborhoods inside of regions, downtown areas in particular, those that have a high reliance on office worker traffic. Every business in those areas is struggling. And it could really change, and not just change the business districts in those areas, but also the local governments themselves. Their tax bases, whether it be income tax or property tax, are substantially eroded. I mean, think about trying to build a budget and look out a few years for the city of Detroit or the city of Lansing or the city of Grand Rapids. There's 22 or 23 cities that operate on an income tax. If they lose their office workers for another year or maybe forever, then it's really going to have a massive impact on those cities' ability to deliver the types of services that their citizens are used to. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of really important reasons to stay focused on business issues right now and make sure that we build the strongest possible economy. And you're not going to have a strong top level economy unless you've got a strong base of small businesses and successful entrepreneurs underneath it.
Brian Calley with us here on the Megacast. He's the president for the Small Business Association of Michigan. Just another minute or two here with you on the show. It breaks your heart because every time you drive down the street, you notice another small business that has closed its doors. And they really do make up the backbone of our local communities and the uniqueness of them. But we're more than a year into this. And in the beginning, everyone really rallied behind so many of these businesses, but more than a year into it, can we keep that, enthusiasm to support these businesses going for much longer?
We have to, and I think that we have to recognize too that a lot of the changes in the ways that that government dealt with the pandemic, whether you agree with them or not, they favored bigger businesses. They favored companies that are not headquartered in Michigan. And so I think that we have to have the discipline to reorient ourselves back toward thinking local. So we have local big businesses, we have local small businesses, but thinking local and supporting local, I think is going to make a big difference between how we recover from this pandemic.
Brian, anything maybe I didn't touch on that you want to add before we say goodbye today?
Well, I think that we covered it pretty well. The thing I'll just add is to put in a plug for the two top things I think you can do to support small business. First is buy local. Second is get your vaccine. The sooner that we get this pandemic behind us, the sooner that we can get back to business under normal circumstances. And I think entrepreneurs are going to do really well once the uncertainty of this pandemic is lifted.
Because it has definitely taught all of us to be stronger.
It certainly has. Thanks so much. It's been great to be with you again.
You too, Brian Calley, president for the Small Business Association of Michigan. We're going to take a quick break here on the Megacast, and when we come back, we'll be joined by Chad Ever. He is the owner of Ever Studios. That's next here on the Megacast.
Wearing a mask is more than protection. It's a bridge to better days. The path back to celebrations with family. Nights out on the town with friends. Game days with your favorite sports teams. And the thrill of live concerts. But until we can all get the COVID-19 vaccine and build community immunity, which will take time, we all need to continue to stay careful because Michigan's recovery is depending on you, and so are your family, friends, and neighbors. So even after you're vaccinated, wear a mask, avoid large gatherings, and social distance. One day in the near future, we will all be able to put this pandemic behind us. But until then, spread hope, not COVID. Learn more at michigan.gov/coronavirus. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
In times like these, we have to believe in each other.
And we believe that you'll do the right thing.
When it comes to stopping the spread of COVID.
Follow the 3 W's.
Wear a mask.
Wash your hands.
Watch your distance. And when it's your turn to get the vaccine, take your shot.
It all comes down to the golden rule.
Treat others the way you want to be treated.
We're so close, Michigan.
We can do this together.
Thank you for taking time out of your day to be with us here on the Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl here in my home studios. Mr. Tyler Keep holding things down back there in West Bloomfield. Just so you know, you can always catch us Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. until noon live. Civic Center TV, Birmingham Area Municipal Access, Channel 15. If you have Comcast, if you have AT&T, you'll find us on Channel 99. You can also listen to us on the radio, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM, The Biff. And to expand our reach even more, today we are live streaming today's edition of the Megacast on our social media sites as well on Facebook. So check us out there. Now let's go ahead and continue the conversation, not just about business, but also about some fun things going on. Chad Ever is going to be with us now on the show. He's with Ever Studios. Thank you, Chad. Always great talking to you.
Hey, good morning, Ronnie.
So before we jump into Dodge for Detroit, which, by the way, looks like so much fun, let's talk to you a little bit about business. How are things going?
Things are going great. I'm wearing my AT&T shirt, so I wear multiple hats. I'm sure you've noticed across the year. So AT&T, we're doing great. I work for a national dealer, and that's really where the Dodge for Detroit comes in. Is we're partnered with them. But for Ever Studios, my personal stuff, things are going very strong, very strong. I'm working with some nonprofits, obviously working with some businesses around Michigan and the U.S. So things are going really well.
So with that, Chad, because we were just speaking with Brian Calley from the Small Business Association, you've been one to try to help out so many of these businesses throughout the pandemic, and doing that through trying for them to be able to expand their reach and to think outside of the box. It's been a while since we've talked to you about that side of your world. What advice do you have for people?
I think Brian actually said it best. He had talked about relationships with your employees and with the customers that are coming in. I think that is probably the most important thing that a business owner can do, is really get their staff on board with kind of shifting their mindset and knowing that this is all about building relationships and increasing that trust, right? Our community, people are a little bit more on edge right now. They're cautious. And if you can demonstrate, that passion for what you do and how you are going to be there and take care of them, I think that is what's going to be the most powerful thing for businesses right now.
We're talking with Chad Ever. He is the owner of Ever Studios, but as you mentioned, you have an exciting project that you're taking part in as well, Dodge for Detroit. Tell us more about that, Chad.
Yeah, Dodge for Detroit is, with AT&T, our company is called Midwest Mobility Solutions. We're a national dealer, and since 2015, we have been the main sponsor for Dodge for Detroit. And what it is, it benefits the Great Lakes Field Service Council. So the Boy Scouts of America, our local chapter here. And, the money that's raised there helps inner city kids and, kids that just don't have the financial means to be able to participate in the program. But because of Dodge for Detroit and the money we raise there and the businesses that participate, we're able to put these kids through the program that otherwise wouldn't be able to. And we're talking about our future leaders, right? We're talking about the people, these kids that are going to be the business owners and be the politicians, right? So when they have those really good core skills, that's what's really going to help us as a community.
So with that, when is the event? Is it going to be pretty much held as it has been in the past, or do you anticipate changes this year if COVID is still going on?
So we are, like everybody else, when it comes to events, we are working that, moment by moment. But right now, we are planning on August 5th. It's going to be at the Corner Ballpark in Detroit, at the Detroit PAL. And, it's an evening event. A lot of businesses come together. They throw sponsorships, and it's just a time to get out and have fun. But of course, we're going to be abiding by everything that we need to. And we changed the locations. We used to be in a much smaller area, and we are going to the Corner Ballpark, which is multiple times larger, to help keep that distance, help keep folks from having to interact too closely with each other, but still have a great event.
The Corner Ballpark, it really is amazing. If you haven't been by there since they've redone it, just swing by. Go have lunch in Corktown, walk down, see the ballpark. They really have done amazing things there. But I have to say, when I think about this, I think about that old movie, the Dodgeball movie. Is it going to be like that? A little competitive?
It's definitely competitive, but it's all for a great cause. So we, like I mentioned, we've been doing this for, half a decade already. And, we haven't got that first place win yet. So we're really trying to get that. And, we work with all of our teams are sales folks, right? They're out there, they're competing. And, we really want to bring home that first place trophy this year.
So with that, do you build a team? Do people enter by teams, or if I'm an individual, can I sign up to join a team? How does it work?
Okay, so typically what happens is a business will sign up and they will have perhaps a sales team, right? And their sales team, maybe it's 20 folks. Well, the teams are broken up into teams of 6. Some people do 10 and they'll just swap people out. And, they put in their sponsorship dollars and now they can participate. But some businesses, when they bring more folks, they'll buy in multiple teams. So we, as the top sponsor, we have 7 teams that come out and try and dominate that court. But, if you are an individual, you could come together with a couple people in your community and participate, by buying into your appropriate sponsorship level.
This is so much fun because I haven't played dodgeball since I was in elementary school, and we know a lot of schools don't even allow kids to play it anymore. But it's so much fun. It really is.
Yeah, the video, I see you rolling it a little bit. That's our teams out there, and it really is fun. Like, some people are concerned about, getting hit in the. These are really soft, dodgeballs. They're not, those big rubber ones that we used to play with that made that big smack noise. This is definitely much more fun and safe, and it's a great time for everybody.
How many people on a team?
6 people on a team, and we do require that 2 folks are female. We don't want it to be anything where it's skewed, and we want everybody to be able to participate. So we require 2 females on each team and a team of 6. A lot of folks will do teams of 8 and just sub people in and out. But yeah, that's our goal.
So how does it work, Chad? Is this an all-day or an all-weekend event? And are you eliminated kind of like softball competitions?
There is kind of the bracket, but you're not eliminated immediately. And it starts at 5 o'clock and goes through the evening. So if we have, a bunch of teams, we'll keep going until, 7 o'clock if we need to. But for the most part, it goes about between 5 till 6:30, maybe 7. It continues to grow every single year. So we are getting more and more businesses that want to have those outings for their teams and really, bring together, that team effort. And it's a great opportunity for that.
Yeah. Do you anticipate this year you're going to be able to get more people to participate just because of that? So many businesses had to cancel their events last year that they would normally do, like, the summer picnics and this, that, and the other. So this year they may be looking for some type of team building exercise.
You're exactly right. We have a lot of businesses that are looking for a reason to do something with their folks. You know, it's been a tough year, and having that opportunity to do something fun and really get that team building. So we are expecting actually to have a lot of teams, and we don't necessarily limit. There isn't really a cap on how many teams we have, because at the end of the day, this is all for the Boy Scouts. This is all for, you know, the Detroit's youth to be able to go through these programs that they wouldn't have access to otherwise. So, you know, at the end of the day, everybody knows that it's for a great cause, and it's going, you know, and it's a great opportunity for them to do something fun.
What's your fundraising goal this year?
$65,000 is our goal this year. And the tiers, they start as low as $600 for a team. So you could get in as a team, grab a group of folks and jump right in.
And it's six people teams, right? 6-person teams?
That's right.
So with that, I know that you said it's for the Boy Scouts of America. What are some of the programs and some of the events that those Boy Scouts take part in?
There are a ton of programs. 2019, you know, we were able to, the Boy Scouts were able to do over 3,000 help over 3,000 boys and girls across Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb. And they participate and are connected with over 30 schools. We're talking about doing camping. We're talking about, you know, the basic skills of, you know, knot tying, goes from Cub Scouts for the youth all the way up to the regular Boy Scouts and graduating to that Eagle Scouts level. So there are programs that are real life building programs. You know, they're going to help them with those core values of understanding leadership and really driving for success.
We're talking with Chad Ever here on the Megacast. He's the chairperson for Dodge for Detroit, as well as the owner of Ever Studios. And Chad, I have to wonder, how'd you get roped into this? Because it seems like it might be a challenging year to try to fundraise.
That, you know, let me answer the first part. How did I get roped in this? So working with AT&T, like I said, we've been part of this for a long time, basically since its inception. And when I joined the team with MMS AT&T, I jumped into the marketing side of things. And, you know, we just want to make the event bigger and better and really bring those dollars in to help the program. So I love it. It's one of those things where I don't feel roped in, you know, when you're doing things you love, it's just not work. But as far as jumping into the chairperson side, you know, helping AT&T have a larger footprint, they kind of recognize that I have a knack for this sort of thing. And they said, hey, you want to sit on our committee? Hey, do you want to be co-chair? And then this year they said, guess what? You are the chair for us. Let's make this the best ever. So, you know, it's an exciting role for me. I'm really glad that I was tapped for it because it's a great opportunity for me as well.
Do you plan on playing, or are you just going to be on the sidelines dictating and navigating?
So I have not played in the years past. I am the guy who's out there taking pictures, getting videos, making sure it's all documented. But I promise this year I'm going to jump in with the team and make sure that I may not last too long, but I'm going to jump in with the teams and have some fun as well.
It really is. Did you see that old school movie, Dodgeball?
I've seen it dozens of times. I love that movie. That's a great one to go back to.
It really is. And now, you know, for anyone out there, you know, it's with who's in it, Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
But it's hilarious.
Yeah, it's Vince Vaughn and Ben Stiller, Ronnie, yes.
Ben Stiller, okay. I should remember that because I think it was on not too long ago.
Yeah, dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge is the keys. Yes.
You got it.
It is so funny, but it kind of takes you back to your elementary school days when we would play dodgeball. So a lot of fun. Again, Chad, how can people sign up and what's the deadline to do so?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, we are the best way to sign up and get more information. You can really just go to chadever.com/dodgeball. Excuse me, chadever.com/dodgeball. And that's going to redirect you to the organization's official page, right? So that's going to get you right to them. The deadline, we've taken teams really, really late in the game, but we do like to have everybody reserved around that June period, June, July. And that's so that we can just make sure we get our numbers. But if somebody says, hey, we really want to do this, and, you know, we're coming up on, you know, 4th of July weekend, we're definitely going to take you. Because at the end of the day, we want you to participate. And we want to help get those sponsorship dollars and hit our goal.
So with that, do you guys have a rain out date, a backup date, or you're just going with Mother Nature's going to be kind to you?
Every single year, it has never rained. It's been blazing hot. It's been a lot of fun out in the sun baking. So we're going to hold true that Mother Nature's on our side on this one.
Fingers crossed. Chad Ever with us here on the Megacast. He's the chairperson for Dodge for Detroit and owner of Ever Studios. Again, the event is going to be taking place August 5th, and it will be taking place at the Corner Ballpark at the Detroit PAL there on Michigan Avenue. They've done amazing things with that facility since the old ballpark has been torn down. Chad, thank you again for being with us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I love chatting with you. You elevate me. You bring my energy up, and it's always a pleasure.
Hey, you have me excited for dodgeball. I may have to put the movie on this afternoon.
Okay, do that first, and then make sure you sign up for a team. Grab some friends.
There you go. Thanks again, Chad Ever, with us. And support, go out and have some fun. Play dodgeball, pretend like you're a kid again, and support kids at the same time. We're going to take a quick break here on the Megacast. Still a lot to get to in the last hour. We are going to be joined by the Oakland University talking about fall. So many kids are already looking forward to heading back to college, but what's it going to look like for them at Oakland University? We'll be talking about that next here on the Megacast.
Quitting smoking can improve your health, but it also protects your loved ones from secondhand smoke. Did you know there's no risk-free level of exposure to secondhand smoke? Smoke from cigarettes, e-cigs, and hookah can travel through ventilation systems and harm those around you. So clear the air and stop secondhand smoke. Call the Michigan Tobacco Quit Line at 1-800-784-8669. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
I want to get back to seeing my grandbabies every Sunday and smothering them with big hugs and kisses.
I want to get back to football games with my boys.
I want to get back to feeling and touching, connecting with the people around me.
I want to get back to family dinners and my grandma's mac and cheese.
I want to get back to real grocery shopping, taking my time, walking down every aisle, smelling the tomatoes and melons, having a free sample or two, or three.
COVID-19 has changed how we live and how we feel. But now, there are vaccines. And they are the first step that let us get back to feeling optimistic about the days ahead of us. It's okay to have questions.
Is it safe?
Should I get it?
Should I wait?
Now, get the facts. Learn more at getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision when vaccines are available to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Over a decade ago, the journey to a COVID vaccine began. Building upon research on other coronaviruses, scientists continued with months of research and development, 3 phases of clinical trials with tens of thousands of diverse volunteers, then peer review and authorization to deliver a safe and effective vaccine that will protect all of us. Discover the facts for yourself at michigan.gov/COVID vaccine.
Thank you for taking time out of your day to be with us on this Friday Eve. And for the latest edition of the Megacast, just about 20 minutes left here in the show. I'm Ronnie Dahl here in my home studios. Mr. Tyler Keefe holding things down back there at Civic Center at TV. You know, college is about to be let out. The semester is winding down for so many students, but focus is already on next fall. And for so many of the kids going for their very first time, but also returning students as well. But what is it going to look like as hopefully more and more colleges are going to allow students back onto college campus for in-person learning? To talk a little bit more about the plans at Oakland University, let's bring in Dr. Britt Rios-Ellis. She's the Executive Vice President of Academic Affairs. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Ronnie. It's great to be here.
So I know the last time we spoke with you, I think you were on the job for just a few days. How is it going? Are you all settled in?
Well, I'm getting settled in. You know, I've moved into a new home. Things are going very, very well. We're doing an excellent job at getting our students vaccinated and really setting up things. And, you know, I'm just very proud of the efforts that we're making in terms of protecting our students, engaging them in in a very empowering environment regarding their wellness and creating academic public health infrastructure. So it's been, I can't say it hasn't been a challenge, but it's been one that I'm very proud of.
Yeah, what a time to start a new job and move to a new city. With that, I know that Oakland University has held a few of the vaccine shot clinics. How is that going? Because I know the one day they were going to administer the J&J shot, Johnson & Johnson, was the day that it was recalled. Probably a little bit of panic there.
Well, I think the one thing is all of this planning that folks have been engaging in far before I came has really helped us create incredible relationships with county folks, with pharmacies, and I think we're the only university that I know that has been so proactive in terms of providing both Moderna and Pfizer. So through that substantial relationship that we have with the county, folks were able to pivot on a dime and get the Pfizer vaccines within hours ready to administer to our students.
So what's the challenge been in trying to get that second dose scheduled? Because students are pretty much going to be wrapping up their time there, this week? Do classes end?
So we've made arrangements that they can come back to us, but they can also go to other places. So if they are, if they live in another vicinity and it's not convenient for them to get to us, they will be able to have that second dose administered elsewhere.
So with that, we're talking with Dr. Britt Rios-Ellis. She's the Executive Vice President for Academic Affairs at Oakland University. And so Oakland was one of the first universities here in the state of Michigan to announce that vaccines are going to be required for many of the students to return to on campus in the fall. But we know that so many other universities are following suit now as well. What was the decision-making process like to come to that conclusion?
So I think, we want to make sure that students, their parents, their families know that their students' health and well-being is of utmost importance to us. And particularly at a time when we've been engaging students in really proactively evaluating their own health and wellness. And, vaccine is part of that. If we are going to be able to come back to, and I'm putting it in quotes, normal, we've got to make sure that we're protecting our student population, we're protecting our staff and faculty population, and vaccine is the best way that we can do that. So we still will be engaging in social distancing to the extent that we need to, making sure that we're following guidelines. We have taken such a proactive stance in terms of the work that we're doing at Oakland, with the bio buttons, with vaccinations, with social distancing throughout classrooms, through our water waste testing. We really know, and thankfully the science is definitely caught up, we really know what's going on our campus. And I think we've also, done an incredible job at formulating health ambassador teams and, not creating an environment wherein students understand all of these things and can move forward, making informed decisions and protecting their wellness. Right now, our real challenge is mitigating the variants. And the only way to mitigate the variants is to stop the replication of the virus. So that's where we are.
So with Oakland University, it's like you said, you've been so proactive throughout. I know with the mandatory testing for a lot of the students, the bio buttons, I think we're, genius. I'm surprised that they haven't, taken off throughout the community as well, because we know that app that the state put out seems to be a bit of a dud. The bio buttons would have made it much easier. And with that, do you think because of all the efforts that Oakland University has been making over this past year, parents are feeling more comfortable returning or allowing their students to return to campus, or even for those freshmen that will be coming in for the very first time?
Absolutely. And I think to couple it with that, we are the third safest campus in the nation. So, and the first two are in the state of Utah. So we're the safest campus in Michigan, and we're also the safest within the Midwest and within the larger northern region. So we're a very safe place to be. And I think that coupled with our proactive stance, our president is a pediatrician, so she really wants to take care, and she refers to herself as Mama Bear or Mama Grizz. So absolutely taking care. I'm a public health person working with a background in infectious disease. So I think that, parents and families can rely on the fact that we have leadership that is so very proactive in taking care of our students and engaging them in this wellness challenge.
So with that, how does it look for next year? Will the students be in person in class, do you anticipate? Or really it's going to depend on where we are come the fall time?
Well, we are anticipating that we will be very close to pre-pandemic standards. So, there will be hybrid opportunities. We will try to provide as much flexibility as possible, but we really want everyone to experience the college experience that we all know and love. So we will be, largely back face to face. Now, saying that, if we have to pivot, we've become very good at pivoting, and we will do so. So we will be following CDC and MIOSHA guidelines to the letter, just as we have been.
Dr. Britt Rios-Ellis with us here on the Megacast. She's the Executive Vice President for Academic Affairs at Oakland University. Given your background, do you also get nervous because you know that you could put all of these measures in place to try to keep students safe, but you can't control what they do outside of campus?
Absolutely. And again, being here 4 months now, that is what attracted me so much to Oakland, is that we have created a structure wherein students can really proactively empower themselves to take the measures they need to protect themselves and their families. I was so proud of a picture that was published in the New York Times showing Oakland students lining up for our vaccine clinics. And when I looked at that photo from a public health standpoint, I really noticed that people were spaced 6 feet apart. Everybody had their masks on, not below their nose, above their nose, covering their mouths. They've become really good at protecting themselves and protecting each other.
So about how many students have taken advantage of the program so far to get vaccinated?
We vaccinated close to 3,000 folks, and we're doing this in an ongoing fashion. So,
it really says a lot because so many students aren't on campus right now.
Right. And well, they're not, and not all these folks are students, but the vast majority are.
So with that, as we go into next year, we do know there are some students that maybe aren't comfortable getting the vaccine just yet, or those that don't want to get it for various personal reasons. How will you address those students?
So, we aren't mandating the vaccine, but we are engaging in a heavily incentivized system so that students who are vaccinated and are proactive in terms of protecting their health and protecting the health of the well-being of the folks around them will be able to engage in much more of a normal college experience. Right. And I will say, the other thing that I want viewers to know is that I'm a mother of 2 Grizzlies myself, and both of my children have been vaccinated. So for parents that are kind of sitting on the edge wondering whether this is a good thing or this is a bad thing, we definitely know that the vaccine is extremely effective. And I really encourage both students, parents, and families to take advantage of this opportunity that we find that we've been waiting for so long, to help us mitigate those variants and keep everyone safe.
So we did see, I think Wayne State University came out with, they have like a program where the students that get vaccinated are going to get like a $10 coupon for Grubhub or something of that nature. So many places are getting creative. A college campus, are you guys considering any of that? Because I will say, for those that are over 21, put a 6-pack of beer out there. They'll get vaccinated.
There you go. We are distributing some great incentives. So for every student that gets vaccinated, they'll be getting some very, very special Grizz swag. And it's also designed to promote, these are things that folks can carry around with them that they'll use every day. And it's designed to really create opportunities for dialogue. So students can say, hey, where'd you get that cool, and it's just kind of a surprise, so I won't tell them what they're gonna get, but where'd you get that cool stuff? Well, I got it when I got vaccinated, right? And really create that safe space for just daily dialogue about what we need to do during a pandemic to protect ourselves and each other.
Because on the backside of this, we also know, there are HIPAA laws surrounding some of these topics as well. Are you going to require or try to require for your professors to get vaccinated as well? Or is that's a total different conversation?
So we are not mandating vaccines, but we are highly encouraging and creating as many opportunities as we can. So we're really trying to get on the proactive edge of this. We're also trying to mitigate doubt and really reassure folks that the vaccine is very safe and it's effective. So that's the other edge. So not mandating. So we say lots of carrots, not sticks.
So with that, kind of a hard though when even the CDC is changing some of the guidelines because this is a novel virus and we are battling the variants as well. Does that make your job more challenging?
Oh, absolutely. Without a doubt. I think that, we need to be thinking about the virus, but the minute that we're thinking about a virus, and I hope that we learn this in the future, the minute we're thinking about a virus, we should also be thinking about variants immediately, because that's where things start to get difficult.
So do you anticipate come fall time, like you were saying, it's the college experience. So I hope your kids are enjoying Oakland University, but it's been a year like no other, and we hope to never repeat that. Do you anticipate, along with returning the students to campus, some of those events are going to be coming back in person as well that we all look forward to, the basketball games, the theater, things of those natures?
Absolutely. And I think, again, that will be a real incentive for folks who are proactively getting vaccinated, because they will be able to participate more fully in college life. And I think it is this unique opportunity that we have, not just as a university, but as a nation, to really recognize that inextricable link between responsibility and freedom.
So with so much focus on the vaccine, we do know that some people, even vaccinated people, may still be able to get COVID, or they may be asymptomatic as well. Do you anticipate that you're going to have to continue some of the testing protocols that were in place this past year?
Absolutely. And we will continue those testing protocols. We will be following we will try to be not just one step, but 2 and 3 steps ahead of it. And I think of all the universities I've seen, it's just been such an honor to join the team at Oakland, because it has been so proactive in terms of the way that we've confronted the virus.
Dr. Britt Rios-Ellis with us here on the Megacast. She's the Executive Vice President for Academic Affairs at Oakland University. Before we say goodbye to you today, anything else that maybe we didn't touch on? I have to wonder, I just don't know how you're doing it, starting a new job, moving in the middle of a pandemic.
Well, I can't say that it hasn't been a challenge, but, it's absolutely been a worthwhile challenge. And I will tell you that everyone I've met in Michigan has been so warm and inviting, that it is the friends that I've made and the people that I work with that have made this decision such a wise one for me. So, life is a challenge, and we're ready. That's why we're Grizzlies.
How was the snow for you yesterday? A little bit of a shocker?
No, I still get really excited about the snow. So, all my friends in California are saying, how are you dealing with the weather? I like it. It's been something I've never experienced a snow in April. So it's been great.
Well, the good thing about April snow is it doesn't last long.
Yes.
So that's always nice. But you know what? We're going to ask you that question again in about 3 or 4 years.
Perfect.
See if you're still just as excited.
Perfect. You keep asking, but so far, so good. Thank you so much.
Heated, the good thing about it right now is they have so many new heated products that they didn't before, like the heated vests, the heated socks and gloves, always worth the investment. Dr. Britt Rios-Ellis with us here on the Megacast, Executive Vice President for Academic Affairs at Oakland University. Anything maybe I didn't touch on that you want to add before we say goodbye?
Just we're really looking forward to our students coming back. We really hope that, if folks are considering that, where to go in the fall, please come and become a Grizzly with us and be part of our pack. It's a great institution. We have a lot to offer. And, being the safest campus, and I think also the safest campus in terms of the virus and the most proactive, you'll learn a lot, and you'll learn a lot of the behaviors that you need to protect yourselves over your lifespan, not just in college.
And I should add to, what is the deadline for students that are still trying to decide, especially ones that would maybe leave the state but are deciding to stay closer to home? What is the deadline for them to get in their information and their application for the fall?
We are going to have very open deadlines. So, I cannot remember the exact deadline, but we are going to keep that open. So we are going to be admitting folks until we don't have any space available. And we anticipate that will, folks, we don't want folks to wait, because then the choice of classes start to diminish. But, we're going to be as open as we can to keeping our campus ready to admit students for as long as possible.
Well, we so appreciate, they're so lucky to have Oakland University in our backyard. Dr. Britt Rios-Ellis with us here from Oakland University. That's going to wrap it up for the Thursday edition of the Megacast. We want to say thank you for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m.